to the 2025 Guide to Ranking on Google Maps for Roofers. My name is Chris Hunter. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of roofingsites.com, which is this next slide. All right. I am also the author of the Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you don't have this in your hands, at least digitally, stay till the end and we'll give you a code to get that, to download that for free. I am also a member of the NRCA, the National Roofing Contractors Association, the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas, Houston area Roofing Contractors Association. So all of these different associations. And, you know, it's basically our mission to help roofing companies, right? Little thing about me, I'm a father of three, have been, as of this Saturday coming up, I will be married for 24 years. That kind of dates me, kind of a thing. But, you know, we have three wonderful kids. I've got an almost 20-year-old. I've got a 17-year-old, and I've got an almost 14-year-old girl, two boys and a girl. Wonderful kids. God has blessed me very much with these wonderful kids and a wonderful family. I've been doing search engine optimization and web design and all of this digital stuff that we're going to talk about here today since 1998. Again, that really dates me. The first website, in fact, that I ranked was on Yahoo and not on Google. Google didn't even exist at the time. When Google started getting really popular around 99, 2000 timeframe, I started paying attention to it. And even to this day, they are still the top dog when it comes to search engines. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is a lot revolving around that. Random fact about me, I rode my bike from College Station, Texas, where I'm sitting right here, to Washington, D.C. in 2012 to raise money and awareness for pancreatic cancer. That's something that my dad passed from in 2009, and it was near and dear to my heart. It was a very Forrest Gump situation, right? I guess that was my midlife crisis, riding 2,300 miles on a bike. It was a cool trip. Ask me about it sometime. I learned a lot of things and saw a lot of America that very few people actually ever see or will see in an entire lifetime. All right. And we are on a mission, by the way, to double the size of 100 roofing companies before 2028. I feel that we are well on our way on that. If you are one of those companies that do want to double the size, be sure to talk to me after this. But we're not here to talk about me. Let's talk about some problems that we have in the industry. Okay. There has been a flood of new roofing companies since 2020, since the lockdown, right? And there is a very low barrier to entry in places here like Texas with no licensing. There's several states that don't have licensing. So there is just a flood of choices for the homeowners. Okay. And really, the biggest problem here is that we want to be the choice versus a choice when it comes to when people are searching for who they're going to trust with their roofing. Okay. I look at 4 or 5 roofing companies marketing every single day. And I will say that very few of y'all have anything really truly down when it comes to positioning yourself as the choice. The cool part about being the choice versus a choice, right, is that you come pre-positioned to the sale. All right. They already want to do business with you. And that's really the job of marketing, okay, in general, is to make you stand out completely from the pack. Okay. The other problem that I see is that in general, there are very few strategies being used for marketing. Okay. I'm a strategist. I like to see strategy versus tactics. A lot of people come to me and want to get ranked or want, to get leads or any of those kinds of things. A lot of those involve tactics. Okay. And doesn't involve an overall strategy. Okay. So here's the strategy that we use. This is something that we have developed for the past 20 some odd years. And this is what I wrote my book on, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you want to read exactly what that is, there's 336 pages, by the way, of this. that you can sit down and read. And yes, I do talk to people all the time that have read the entire book. Okay. That's great. That's awesome. Okay. But here it is in a nutshell. All right. So we have 4 pillars, which is why I have this little pyramid thing here. Okay. We've got the first pillar is reputation. Okay. You can't do anything in marketing without a solid reputation. We added this into what we do for clients way back in the day because there's so many clients that don't focus at all on their reputation. They just want to get leads. They just want, but if your reputation stinks or your website doesn't convert or you are non-existent on social media or your reviews are non-existent, you have maybe 5-10 reviews, okay, that doesn't instill trust. And honestly, when it comes to marketing, people have to get to know, like, and trust you before they're going to do business with you, right? They have to know that you're out there. They have to like you, and then they have to trust you. And trust is really that's the foundation of everything that you do, which is why this reputation pillar. Okay. Next is reach, getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. All right. What we're going to talk about today is one tiny piece in this pillar. Okay. What most people come to me about is this pillar right here. Okay. But they're missing the entire picture. Okay. But things in this pillar are SEO, Google Maps, Google Ads, Facebook ads, content marketing, social media, and the list goes on and on and on, really, of what you can do in digital marketing. Resell is the next pillar, right? You're 8 times more likely to sell to people who have purchased from you in the past, but very few of y'all that I talk with actually have a resell program. You've never done cross-sell campaigns, meaning that, if you sell gutters, siding, windows, solar, any of those kinds of things, you've never gone back to the well of your database of your customers to ask them, hey, by the way, we also do gutters. Do you need some gutter work? Do you need some help with that? So if they've had a good experience with you, they're in the market for that specific service, right? They're 8 times more likely to use you. Right. So it just kind of makes sense. Now, there's a lot of things that go into this pillar. I'm not going to go real deep into this, but, we want to make sure that we're going back to our customers time and time and time again. By the way, on talking about the resell pillar, the Fortune 500 companies have this down. Okay. Franchises have this down. The roofing industry does not have this down. Okay. For the resell pillar, going back to your customers time and time again. The last pillar is referral, right? We build our companies on referrals at the beginning. But the larger that we get, the harder that is to scale because it's sitting right here in the owner's brain. There's not an actual system for it that's on their website. It's not in their newsletter. It's not published anywhere whatsoever. Their employees don't know about it. Their customers don't know about it. It's all in the head, and sometimes it's hit or miss. Because that's what happens with us owners. We're so busy doing, a million different hats that we forget, hey, let's make a system out of this. So that's what this is basically making a system out of getting referrals in on a regular basis. Okay. This, by the way, is the entire 4R system. I call this an evergreen system because as things stop working, we take it out and we replace it with something that will work. Okay. So a great example of this, honestly, when I first went into business in 2001, okay, officially in business in 2001, I was told by everybody in the local area, by the Chamber of Commerce, all of my friends, hey, you need to go get a Yellow Pages ad. So I did it. I spent $800 a month on a Yellow Pages ad. And because my business partner was a geek, kind of like me, we added these things called tracking numbers to that ad. Right? Which basically just tracked how many times someone called. Well, guess what? When that salesperson came back to me a year later, tried to upsell me even more, I think he was wanting $1,500 a month, right? For that same ad, same space. And it wasn't that big. It was like maybe, a quarter of a page inside of the Yellow Pages. He came back to me and as I looked at our statistics, our data, we had 0 phone calls from the Yellow Pages. So I was like, nope, thank you. Okay. But that isn't in the reach pillar. If you notice this, okay, it is not in the reach pillar because, well, I honestly never really wanted it in the 4R marketing system because guess what? It doesn't work. And it's just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. We replaced it with Google. Okay. A lot of people, because of this thing sitting in their pockets, right? This $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket, this is replacing the yellow pages today. Okay. This and Google. Now, if Siri gets smart, has the potential to replace Google. Okay. So that's some of the things that we're working on in the back end on trying to figure out, okay, well, if Siri does get smart, how are we going to position our clients for that? How are we going to position ourselves for that? Okay. When someone says, hey, Siri, find me, she's going to pop right up. I'm going to keep the button, clicking here to keep her off. But when someone says, hey, Siri, find me the best roofer near me, see, she's coming on, and it actually works. Okay. So, all right, that's all I'm going to talk about on the 4R roofing marketing system. If you want to know more about that, I do a couple of workshops every single year at the beginning of the year and the end of the year to kind of plan how do you make this system a system in your business. Okay. All right. Okay. But we're here to talk about Google. All right. Because we're talking about Google Business Profile. We're talking about Google Maps specifically. Okay. Why Google? I have to throw this out there. I have a lot of roofers that come to me that are running ads on Facebook and wonder why it's not working. Well, guess what? They go to Google, not to Facebook, to find you, right? People don't go to Facebook to find you. They go there to look at pictures of cats and dogs and kids and food and, to socialize with their friends. They don't want to be pitched, okay? So if they do come in, the buyer intent isn't there because they're not searching for you. Google, they're searching for you. All right. So that's why we focus first on Google. And inside of Google, we want to dominate it, right? As many spots as we can possibly take up. I call these poles in the water in fishing terms. The more poles we have in the water, the more fish we're going to catch, right? Okay, so the first poll is local service ads. These are newer. If you don't have these things running right now, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do, because they could easily build $1 million into your pocket right now simply by running these ads and doing them correct. Okay, so local service ads are one of the spots on Google. Okay, the next spot are Google ads. These have been around for a long time, right? These are pay-per-click ads. Every time that someone clicks on an ad, you're charged. Okay, they might or might not turn into a buyer. Local service ads, on the other hand, if someone clicks on your ad, you don't get charged unless they fill out a form, they book with you, because there is a booking, capability built into it now, or they call you. Okay, you get charged in any of those scenarios, but it's more kind of like Home Advisor or Angie's. Okay, except it's going to you and not eight other companies. Google ads, however, are pay-per-click. They pay for every time. You pay every time that someone clicks on your ad. Okay. Google Maps is the next area. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important areas, right, to take up inside of the Google search engine result page. When someone types in roofer near me or roofing company in College Station, Texas, okay, because that's where I'm at, College Station, Texas. The next is organic. Okay, organic is how Google began. It is the most trusted, besides Google Maps, it's the most trusted area for people when they are researching something. Okay, they don't trust ads nearly as much, right? I think the latest stats that I saw on ads is that 98% of the people will completely bypass ads altogether because it's too easy to get up there, right? And it comes back to that trust factor. Okay, people trust the organic and Google Maps, and now the local service ads area because they're guaranteed, right? Google is guaranteeing those. There's a little checkbox on that, and it shows your reviews and all those kinds of things. So real briefly, I'm going to show you, this is where those areas are. I did a quick search this morning for roofing company. I used a tool that makes me looks like I'm in Houston. Okay. Even though I'm in College Station. So this showed, the local service ads up in the top. There was a sponsored area. That's Google ads. Okay. We're seeing less and less of the Google ads showing up in the bigger searches. Okay. So just be aware of that. Google is placing more and more importance on local service ads, the Google guaranteed ads on inside of their advertising platform. Okay, the next area is maps, the 3-pack, as what everyone calls the 3-pack, because there's literally only 3 listings. Okay. As you can see here, it shows you reviews right there. Okay. And it also, by the way, out of these 3 listings, only one of them has directions, which means that only one of these companies actually has an office. The rest of them are probably working out of their home, don't want to publish their office. Okay. So I'm guessing that middle one, Monarch, gets a lot more leads. Okay. Because they're going to be more trusted. They have an actual office. Okay. Now, next section is organic. All right. Organic. Again, that's how Google started. It's one of the most trusted areas out there. All right. And we want to show up there for sure. Okay. Now, a lot of times you're going to be competing against Angie's. You're going to be competing against Better Business Bureau. You're going to be, all of these directories you're going to be competing against. Okay. So it's hard with those because guess what? They have a bigger budget than you do. And that's just really what it comes down to. They have a way bigger website, way more backlinks coming to them. They have way more authority built on those websites than your small business does. Okay. So it's a little harder to outrank those guys. Now, keep in mind, all of this that we're going to talk about today is really in the maps area, but what I'm going to say next applies to organic as well. Did y'all ever play King of the Hill? As you're a kid, I'm from the 80s. So, we played stuff on playgrounds, these things called playgrounds where they had these jungle gyms and stuff like that. Right. Well, we had this one jungle gym where I grew up that was like, it's like a dome, right? It was. And so we had this game, King of the Hill. And yes, it would probably not work at all in this day and age. Okay. But us boys would get up to the top and the alpha kids would try to pull each other off. And yes, you'd get a little hurt. But the point is that it was King of the Hill because you got up there because you outdid somebody else. Well, guess what SEO is? Search engine optimization. That's you have to outdo the competitors in order to rank. Okay. If they have 100 backlinks, you need 110 backlinks that are better than their backlinks. Okay. If they have 111 reviews, you're going to need 115 reviews. Okay. All of these metrics are little things that we can see and things that we can measure. And you have to know that you have to outdo the competition in order to get up there. Okay. So I took a real quick screenshot of a couple of folks this morning, right? You can see the little, these are called heat maps, okay? And this is a representation of basically when someone is in that area for that client, this is where, it shows 1, 2, 3 or beyond that of where your listing shows up, okay? And I just threw this in here just so that y'all know we kind of know what we're doing here. Okay. This one's out in California. They're doing great on their maps. This one's in Plano, Texas. They're doing great on their maps, obviously. Almost all of them are ones. Okay. Which, by the way, Plano, Texas, one of the most competitive areas in the entire world for roofers. Okay. So getting something like this where it's green is massive. Not just green, but all green, like 1s and 2s. It's absolutely massive. Okay, so let's talk about how we actually do that. All right. So first of all, you need to know some ground rules. Okay. Number 1, maps is very proximity based. This is the number 1 rule, meaning that the closer that your office is to the searcher, the more importance that you're going to be placed on where it's ranking you, it being Google is ranking you. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. You can't imagine how many times that I come across roofing companies that have their office, right, and their shop set up on the outskirts of town. Guess what? If it were me, I'd pay that extra $1,000, $2,000 a month for an office that sits right outside of my ideal clients, my ideal customers, where they're sitting, okay, where their homes are. So proximity base is very, very, very important. Okay. Next, real office. Okay. We have to have a real office. In this day and age, people, like I showed earlier, like I'm showing right here, is that these two don't have a real office. Okay. But yet Monarch does. Guess who they're going to trust more? They, me, being the homeowners. Are they going to trust someone that's working out of their house, or are they going to trust someone that has an actual office that they can go down to and talk to about whatever discrepancy that they have? It's going to be the office. Okay. Now, in Google's eyes, because of that, they're ranking people that have real offices. Okay. Up above service area businesses. That's how you do it when you set up a Google business profile that, you're working out of your house. You don't want anyone to know what your address is. Okay. It's a service area business. Okay. The next one, reviews. Reviews are so critical. I cannot stress this enough. Reviews are absolutely critical to ranking on Google Maps. Okay. If you want to rank, you have to make getting reviews on a steady basis, the priority. Okay. After every job, you have to ask for it. You have to ask in person. You have to ask it via email. You have to ask via SMS, just like the doctor's office does. Okay. We're just as professional. Why can't we do the same thing? And we have systems, by the way, for our own clients, and we guide them and coach them that, hey, every job, this needs to be a priority, because if you only get 17 reviews in 1 year and your competition is getting 50 per week, who do you think Google is going to favor? Okay. So next, EAT, right? EAT stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. This is something that Google made up just to kind of explain what their algorithm is. Now, don't get me wrong here. Google's algorithm is very complex. It is so complex that it changes. I think the last statistic was 50,000 times per year. Okay. It used to be, when I first started in this, about 600 times a year. I've been saying 600 times a year for the past 20 years to my clients. I saw a statistic that it is ramped up, okay, to around 50,000 times a year. I mean, imagine that. So EAT, EEAT, is simply an acronym that they built to explain what they are looking for. And yeah, Google tells you what they're looking for. They actually, and if you geek out like I do, you'll go look at the actual patents that they have, the trademarks that they have, the patents that they have on their technology. Okay. But at a bird's eye view, what we're going to talk about here today is this EAT principle. Okay. So let's talk here about the actual ranking factors. Okay. So there's a company in my industry that puts out a survey every year. And it goes out to thousands of folks like me, okay, that are working on a daily basis on ranking our clients inside of Google Maps. Okay. They bring back that survey every year, and they create a top 10 list of these are the ranking factors according to the latest survey. These, what I'm going to share with you here today, are published by a place called White Spark. And this is the survey that they came back with. Okay. Absolute number one that all SEOs agree upon is that it's your primary category is what dictates where you show up in the maps area for a specific search. Okay. So if, let's say that you are a roofing contractor and you also do electrical work, and I don't know, there's not very many that do that. Let's use gutters. Okay. Roofing and gutters and siding and windows. You do all of those things. Well, if you put as the primary category, okay, and this is just kind of the basic main thing that you set up, right? When you set up a Google business profile, if you set the primary category as gutters, guess what? You're hurting your chances for showing up for roofing, okay? Because roofing contractor is the main category that you should have set, okay? Number two, if you can, try to have the keywords in the business title, okay? We had a client that took they expanded and bought a couple of other businesses, right? So they wanted to be more than just roofing. They took roofing out of their name. Okay. We changed it in Google Business Profile, all that kind of stuff. And guess what happened? They stopped ranking for roofing. Okay. So if you can have roofing in your business title, Acme Roofing, whoever roofing, right? Make sure that that's in your business title. I talk to a lot of GCs that, are adding roofing, right? Because it's more predictable. It's faster paced than building a building that takes a year to complete and get paid for. There's a lot of GCs that are going out. And so my coaching point on all of that is to go down to in Texas, you have to go down to for me specifically, I have to go down to Brazos County tax office and create a DBA, a doing business as, to get the official paperwork if I were going to change our name, okay, to do business as this entity. Okay, so I highly recommend that you add roofing into your business name if you don't already have it, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I will caution that if you add roofing in there, okay, and it's not truly the name of your company, you face potential to be suspended. Okay, so be very, very careful with that. Spend here in Texas, it's like $30 to go down to, or maybe 50. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've done it, but you go down and create a DBA at the tax office. It's very nominal. Okay. Number 3, proximity of address to point of search. This was what we talked about earlier. If it were me, and I'm adding a new roofing company, I would put that office directly outside of my best customers' homes to get it as close as I possibly can to that. That's going to add millions of dollars to the bottom line. So that $1,000 extra that you're going to pay per month is very super nominal there. Okay. Number 4, physical address, right? We talked about that, having a real office and not a service area business. If you're currently working out of your home, do exactly what I just said on number 3, and then set up your Google business profile with an actual office. Okay. And be careful, by the way, of going to virtual offices, especially known virtual offices like Regis or any place like that. If you set up your office using that, and try to get it, approved by Google, it's going to get turned down every time, because Google has been spammed so many times with, honestly, marketers like me that have gone out and created these virtual offices, right? That they are very, very against that practice right there. Okay. Now, you can get away with a virtual office that is not like a public virtual office. And there's lots of those these days, because there's a lot of professionals that have gone home. They're no longer at the office. And so the owner of the office is trying to figure out what to do. So there's might be several businesses working out of the same office. Just the thing to stay away from on that, by the way, is to ensure that there's not another roofing company in that office. Okay. You probably wouldn't want to do that, but just throwing that out there, you don't want 2 of the same type of businesses in one singular office. Other than that, you're going to be okay on that. Okay. Number 5, high rating of reviews. Okay. 4 or 5 stars. All right. The higher, the better, obviously. How do you get those? Well, that's part of your review system that you build inside of your business. Okay. But I highly and how well that you do the job. Okay. And how well that you keep your customers happy. Okay. Make sure that you do your best job and get those 4 to 5 stars. Really push for that 5 stars if you possibly can. Okay. From every single job. Number 6, additional categories. Guess what? There's all sorts of categories that match up with your services, right? Roof repair, roof maintenance, gutters installation, so all of these things, make sure you set up every single one of your services inside a Google business profile specifically. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay. High number of reviews. We talked about that, 5 to 10 reviews versus 100 reviews. I ran across a company recently that had close to 4,000 reviews. That blew my mind, because that means that they do a lot of jobs, right? First of all. Number 2, that they place a high importance on getting those reviews after every single job, right? And when I referenced, the company that's getting 50 per week, that was that company right there. They were getting 50 reviews per week. Okay. Now, were they real? It's hard to tell. Okay. You would have to go into all 50 of those people and really determine were they in that service area or not. Okay. Verified Google Business Profile. This is kind of a no-brainer. You're not going to rank without a verified Google Business Profile. Okay. This used to be one of the number one things. Now it's kind of dropped down, in recent years to number 8. Okay. But it's still very important. You got to have a verified Google Business Profile. Number 9, completeness of that profile, right? Fill every box out, right? Google gives us these tools that we can tell them what our business is about. Just fill out the boxes. If you're not sure what to fill them out with, ask ChatGPT. It'll tell you. Okay. And just fill every single box, check every little checkbox that pertains to your business. And last, sustained influx of reviews over time. All right. There's a lot of businesses that will make it a priority for 1 month or 2 months, get a whole bunch of reviews and then drop off the face of the world. Okay. Let's not do that. Keep it steady and just make your review process part of your closeout process. Put that in the hands of the bookkeeper or the admin back office admin. Okay. Sorry, stumbled a little bit there, but put it in their hands. Take it out of the salespeople's hands because they're going to forget to do it unless they're incentivized. Okay. Now, if you are incentivizing, we have a client that isn't incentivizing, right? Their sales staff, they've gotten like 300 reviews in the past year. That's phenomenal. That's exactly what you need to do. Okay. If you're doing 50, 60, jobs per year, maybe more, make it a priority to do that for every single one. Because guess what? If you're getting 2 reviews per week, okay, 52 weeks, that's over 100 reviews right there. And what I've noticed is that if those companies that have over 100, those are the ones that are actually doing really, really well. Okay. So make it a priority to get those reviews. Okay. This is literally the checklist. Okay. Of what you need to do. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some other stuff here. This is a version of my original map, right? I used to draw this out. My employees used to love me drawing this out because when I'm explaining, how to do things, I'm a very visual guy. So I used to draw this out on pieces of paper or on whiteboards and stuff like that and do some training with my staff. This is what it looks like. Okay. Okay. So this is how you rank on maps. All right. And by the way, this is, if you've ever gone to one of my SEO, my organic SEO workshops, this is the exact same thing. Okay. So it's real easy. Let me see if I can use my annotation tools here. I'm going to draw. I told you I wasn't going to draw, but I'm going to draw here. Okay. So the very first thing that tells Google what your website is about is obviously your homepage itself. All right. Your homepage is the most important page on the entire website. It tells them, and this, in my opinion, should match up exactly with your primary category inside a Google Business Profile. Okay. If you want to rank as a roofing contractor, right? When people do searches for roofing contractor, roofing, roofer, this page must actually say that. Okay. It's got to be in the title. It's got to be in the headings. It's got to be mixed throughout the paragraphs on the website. And by the way, throw the location in there, your primary location. Okay. Next, we add landing pages for our clients. Okay. Landing pages are simply your services plus a location. Okay. So roofing company in College Station, Texas, roofer in College Station, Texas, roofing contractor in College Station, Texas are 3 different pages. So we want to have 3 of those types of pages here. I know it's represented with 1 page, but we would have as many services as we have, as many searches as we want to be found on. That's how many we would have there. Okay. The next step here is that we create articles. I call this search engine spider food, and I'll explain why here in a minute. Okay. The article's job is to tell Google and provide more context to Google of what you want to be ranked for. Okay. If you want to be ranked for roofer, let's talk about roofing. Okay. If you want to be ranked for gutters, let's talk about gutters. If you want to be ranked for siding, let's talk about siding. Okay. And I'm going to show you here in a little bit a shortcut to all of that using ChatGPT. But this right here is the really one of the most important pieces of this entire strategy. Okay. So we create articles. by the way, that link back to these landing pages. Okay. There might be multiple links coming out into each other landing pages, okay, that are out there. But the guiding principle is that we're linking to landing pages. Next, when we publish this article within minutes, really for us within seconds, because we have software that we have written that publishes all of this stuff. Okay. Anytime we write an article, it publishes it to immediately to the search engines. Okay. And the reason why for that is that we're basically showing Google, right, when that blog posts to Instagram and Twitter, now X, to Facebook, to LinkedIn. Don't sleep on LinkedIn, by the way. Okay. And by the way, to Google Business Profile itself, we have the ability to do that. Okay. The past 2 or 3 years, maybe longer than that, maybe 5 years, we've had the ability to post to Google Business Profile. Okay. What happens is that we're going to take Twitter as an instance here. X, I know I'm an old school, so whatever it's called. Okay. I still call it Twitter. Okay. So when you post to Twitter, guess what happens? Twitter notifies these little guys sitting out there. I'm going to do my best, right? It notifies these little search engine spiders sitting out there. I got 8 legs, right? That this exists. Hey, this is new. Okay. And so what happens is that the search engine spider comes back down this way, all right, all the way to the article, consumes it, takes it back to its little layer, right? If you think of the web as a spider web, I'm going to do my best to draw this out here. Okay. All right. I'm done with my drawing. Okay. So it came down this little, right, strand, just like a regular spider would, because we jiggled that strand just like a fly when it lands into a spider web. Okay. Little fly came out here, jiggled this. So we jiggled the web here and it came here and it took it back and it's consuming it in this little layer up over here. Okay. Which, by the way, is Google. If we do it this way, we're providing way more importance on this because it was shared out socially. Okay. And it's coming back up and it's consuming more and it's going, oh, this is the same one. This is the same one. Oh, it was shared out here, and here. Okay. This article becomes pretty important and I call that spider food. Now, if it had come this way and found it a week or 2 later, there's less importance on that. Okay. So that's not the way that we want that spider to find that article. Okay. Now, where did my annotation tools go? I'm going to erase that. They disappeared. Okay. Shoot. Oh, here, there. Okay. So I want to erase this. I don't want it to come that way. Okay. All right. So once it's done all of this, right? And by the way, because we are linking to these landing pages, we are giving signals to Google that these are the other things that we're about. And because this is about one specific topic, okay, and we're writing about it over and over and over and over and over again, not the same thing, obviously, right? But because we're writing about it over and over and over again, Google's like, these guys are about roofing. This website is about roofing. And because they have published 50 times this year about roofing, I'm going to continue to let them rise up in the search engines. Okay. So this is a content strategy because guess what Google is built off of? Content. It's built off of text specifically, right? Now it can do other things like it can consume video, it can consume pictures, and it knows a lot of other things. And those are the other things to feed it. Okay. But the primary thing that Google consumes is text. So we must add text on a regular basis to our website if we want it to rank. Okay. Now, this helps organically, but it also helps on the maps 3-packs side of things because we're giving signals, constantly giving signals to Google that, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we're about. This is what we're about. Okay. Now, the other things that we do, okay, are so Google is about 2 things. It's about content, okay, on page, off-site page, off website content, right? And that's exactly what we talked about here. But it's also about backlinks. It's always been about backlinks. Always, okay? It's been less and less about the volume of backlinks really since 2012, all right? Jason said, sorry, my ones have been going to Chris's note taker. That's funny. Yep, sorry. All right, so because Google is more about quality than quantity, right? Since 2012, there was this little algorithm shift that came around and blew the internet up, right? And when the way that we were doing it back then is almost the same way that we're doing it now for backlinks specifically. And that's just simply finding authority websites and linking back to our clients' websites with those. Okay. It's a simple concept, but marketers were messing it up, man. They were messing it up big time. They still mess it up to this day. Okay. Guess what is happening and has been a common practice in the SEO industry for the past 5-6 years is guest posting. Well, guess what was happening in 2012 before that algorithm shift happened? Exactly the same, is called something different, but that's the exact practice that people were using. Okay. So we find authoritative websites and link back using the kind of the same methods that we're using here. Okay. But we're finding actual websites to do this with. The other part is down over here with citations. Citations are so critical to ranking on Google 3-Pack. Okay. So these are things like your name, address, and phone number, and your website on most directories. These are directories. Okay. I mean, there's a million different directories. There are some niche specific ones that we use for us and our clients. Okay. That help. So those, by the way, help a lot more than just the general directories. And we took a look at some of the citations that we were building about 5 years ago at this point, and we were using a service to do this that was giving us kind of a when we really truly dug down into those citations, they weren't really good. Okay. They were kind of spammy websites. So we got rid of that service. We use another service now to do it. But basically, you want to use a service kind of like Yext, okay, to build out these citations and make sure that all of your name, address, and phone number are exactly the same. And when I say exactly the same, I mean like match it dot for dot, letter by letter, okay, to exactly what's on your Google business profile. If your Google business profile, your name is Acme Roofing in Google business profile, but all of your citations say Acme Roofing LLC, right? There's a discrepancy there in Google's eyes. So we want to match that all the way up, all throughout the entire internet. Okay. These are critical to make sure that those things are matched up. All right. So I wanted to give you all little tidbits on how to get local links, because these are juicy links. These are really good links. Okay. One, local sponsorships. All right. Think of sports teams, little league, club, teams, those types of things. Make sure though, when you get that local sponsorship, okay, that you get a link on their website and from social media. Okay. And you want to also spread that word out as well. Okay. One, it's kind of cool to show that you give back to your community. Okay. And it builds great goodwill and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. From an SEO standpoint, I want stuff linking back to the website, like I just explained. Okay. Host a local community event, base the event on a specific reason. We've got a client that is sponsoring, they're not hosting it. Well, actually, I guess they are. They're sponsoring a local community event. It's a golf tournament in their local community. Look for things like that to sponsor and ask for a backlink from their website. Okay. Spread the word. We're going to do a press release for them. Okay. Press releases are they produce really, really good backlinks, because guess what? If your local media picks that up and they link back to your client's website or your website, boom. I mean, that's gold. Okay. Look for those things. Look for those opportunities. Okay. Or create an opportunity for it. Create your own event. All right. Next, create a local resource page. Mention a number of businesses that your customers might see as a resource. Obviously, you're not going to put your competitors on this, but you might want to have other like-minded businesses that you link to, and guess what? Have them link back to you. Okay. This is all legal to do in Google's eyes, so do it. All right. Sponsor a scholarship. Reach out to schools, school districts. Offer a scholarship. These things, any kind of a link that you get on a website is good, okay? Especially local websites to your community. But guess what? Google really, really, really trusts school websites specifically, okay? Now, I had a client that used this, and actually it was really the sponsorship, the first thing up here, right? He used this for almost 20 years. And so he sponsored the A&M Road Bike Club, A&M, Texas A&M biking club. I can't remember what it was called exactly, right? But it's the road biking because he was into road biking and his son went through it. And so he sponsored it at that time. And he just never stopped doing that for like 20 years. Every year he'd give him a check for $1,000. Guess what? They linked from his website, from their website to his website. That is a backlink. Okay. When he stopped sponsoring that, his rankings completely dropped. And he called asking why. And I said, well, are you sponsoring that club still? No, I gave that up. I'm like, okay, Steve, let's go. Right. Let's sponsor that again and you'll get back up in rankings. Because it was that one little piece, because it was a .edu link. Google super trusted it. Okay. So find opportunities that you can do these types of things with. And the last pitch guest posts to local sites in your area. And I know I said don't do guest posts, but if we're there with companies that you trust. Okay, so let's say that you built that local resource page with plumbers, electricians, HVAC, okay, other people in the trades, and you swapped articles with them. They would post on your website for guest posts. You would post on their website periodically for guest posts. Those are pretty good links coming, and again, link back to your website in any of those. Okay, those are good links in Google's eyes. All right. And last, host an interview, right? If you're kind of like me, right? I'm an introvert, right? But guess what? In the past 6 years, I've done podcasting, and guess what? It's not that hard. It's pretty easy to do. Okay. You could do it via Zoom. You could use that $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket to record it. They've got lavalier mics that are now Bluetooth, right? That can pick up sound. Just make sure that you have good lighting. Interview local celebrity, right? Interview people in your local area. Put it on your website. Put it on your social media. Heck, do what I do and actually make a podcast out of that. Okay, put it to where it shows up on Spotify and in iTunes. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my podcast, this is a shameless plug here. Make sure you subscribe. Go to roofergrowthhacks.com. That is our website for that. It's on, or look it up on Spotify, wherever. Okay, whatever podcast platform that you listen to, we should be on. Okay, and if we're not, let me know. But this is a great strategy, not a tactic. This is a great strategy for you to use because guess what? When you interview people, they're going to post that on their website. Yeah, by the way, give them the exact post that you're going to post on your website. Okay, which means that you're going to get a link back to your website because that's where all the content is. Okay, anything that you can do to get backlinks are gold. Okay, especially locally. Okay, give me one if all that makes sense. I know we're coming up to the end of the hour. I've got a little bit more here and I've got some juicy stuff to show y'all. One. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about topical authority. We kind of briefly talked about it, okay? But I'm going to give you an exact example and exactly how to do this. And you can go back to the YouTube channel, okay, later. We're going to post this later. You can go back to our YouTube channel and see exactly how we did it, okay? Let me see if I can get this up here. To save time, I went ahead and did this whole thing inside of a chat, a singular chat. Okay, but you can do this, with the correct prompts. All right, so the first prompt that I used, I went to ChatGPT. I by the way, use a Plus account. Okay, it's worth the $20 a month. Very worth the $20 a month to get a Plus account. Okay. Okay, so with the Plus account, what I did is that I created a prompt that says, give me the top 30 questions related to the subject of roofing with an audience of homeowners that will help me establish my topical authority as the go-to expert for this topic and audience, put the results in a table and rank by monthly search volume and ease of ranking. And it came back and it gave me all of these. It gave me 30, topics that will help me rank. Now, I could write a blog about each one of these if I wanted to, okay? But that's only 30 of them. If I'm publishing a blog a week, which you should, if I'm publishing a blog a week, that's only going to give you about half the year, right? Maybe a little over half the year. So I went back to it and I said, okay, now create a list of 120 blog titles based on the above list. Each of the above questions will have a listicle title. That's where, top 10 things, kind of a thing. How to title, tips title, and a why title. I expect 120 total titles. Please ask any clarifying questions before proceeding. Always put that in, by the way, at the end. I had a friend of mine, Jonathan Mass, that showed me that he calls this the perfect prompt framework. Always put that question in at the very end, and it'll come back and it'll ask you some things, and it gives you way better output. Okay. So it did all this stuff up here, and it came back and said, wait, what about tone? What kind of tone do you want to use? Audience. Apparently, it didn't pay attention when I said the audience is homeowners. Okay. And then SEO consideration. And again, it didn't pay attention to the top prompt there, so I had to tell it again. Conversation and informal is what I chose. Homeowners and roofing is the main keyword that we want to create a topical authority map of. Okay, said perfect. Okay, here we're going to create all of these things. How does this look? I came back and said, please put them into a table format that I can copy and paste into Google Sheets or Excel. Okay, so it gave me the first batch. And it went through iteratively and gave me a whole bunch of different batches. And as you can see, so for our main topic of roofing, with the first question of how much does a new roof cost, it came back with 5 things that could affect the cost of a new roof and what you can do about it. Great blog post, by the way. How to figure out what a new roof will cost you. Tips to keep roofing costs under control as a homeowner, and a why roof replacement costs. Why roof replacement costs and what it does and what you're really... Oh, here you go. It shows to me down here what you're really paying for. Okay. Anyway, so I had it go through all of these and kept telling it to continue because that's what you need to do. Just, do you want me to go to the next set? Because it runs out of memory essentially. Okay. So keep doing that until you get down to the bottom. Okay. And I said, will you add them all into one table that I can copy and paste into Sheets? Okay, so when you click on this little button here, it'll give you the full table. And let's scroll down to the bottom. And look at that. It gave me 120 of them. Exactly what I wanted. Okay. Next, I said, all right, create an article with this title, right? And I chose that title, the first one, the 5 things that affect the cost of a new roof. An article with this title and the keyword focus to be roofing. Awesome. Okay, here it is. All right. Created this nice little article. And by the way, this is using a custom GPT that's trained on us and how we write. Don't just have ChatGPT go out and spit out stuff. Google has recently come out and said that they're against junk. Okay. They've always been against junk content, but they are very against now AI junk content. Okay. So make it sound like you. I trained ChatGPT to sound exactly like me. Okay. That's a whole other topic that we can go over, but make sure that you do something like that. Okay. All right. So it also created an FAQ. It created, a couple of the key takeaways and all that kind of stuff. So I'm using a very specific custom GPT that we wrote for ourselves in order to do this. Okay. Now I said, okay, great. And I used another custom GPT that'll help us create now the social media posts that I want to share out for this one specific blog. Because guess what? You don't want to just share out one social media post. We want to share out multiples. Okay. And we're going to multiply that by all of those networks. Okay. So if we share out 5 times 5 different networks, all right, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Google Business Profile, we are multiplying it massively every time that we post a blog. Okay. And guess what? Those giving tons of signals to Google of exactly what you're doing. Okay. All right. Viral post 1, the hook that hits home. Think roofing is expensive, not knowing this. It came up with a really cool blog post here. Okay. If you notice, I had it give me a placeholder because I haven't created the actual blog yet. We want to actually put it on the website before we link to it. Right. Viral post 2, right? This is all great information. Your roof's not trying to be dramatic. It just needs some attention. When was the last time you looked up? Most homeowners don't realize how fast roofing issues snowball. Leaky spots, missing shingles, granules in the gutter, deck rot. All of these can turn your quick fix into a full replacement and your budget into tears. Here's what really drives roofing costs and how you can keep them in check. Here's the link. Okay, again, we're linking back to that blog. Okay. Let's do this entire thing 5 different times. So there, really in a matter of about 15 minutes, right? I literally did this 15 minutes before we jumped on here because I was like, oh, I need to show them how to do this. Okay. Came up with 120 blog article titles, wrote an entire blog that I can copy and paste into WordPress. Please use WordPress. Okay. Google loves WordPress, not Squarespace, not Wix. Use WordPress. Okay. It came up with 5 social posts for me to share it out, exactly like we described here. And all I have to do is just copy and paste and schedule those things out. Okay. This is what we went over, a very small piece of the entire 4R roofing marketing system. If you want the entire system, just download my book, go to Amazon, buy it. Okay. If you want the physical copy, if you become a client, I send this to you autographed, right? Shameless plug. If you want a free book, I'm going to leave this up here. Use the QR code, go to go.roofingsites.com, download the book, read through it. It's a digital copy of that. I'm giving it out because, and I have been giving it out for the past year because it is our mission to double the size of 100 roofing companies. And if this is one small way that I can do that, please do that. It's free. Okay. I'm going to leave it up here for another second. Pull out that $1,000 machine. Let you scan that QR code. Next, guess what? I have a free AI SEO course. Kind of that stuff that I just went over with ChatGPT. I've got that in a course that you can go through. Okay. Again, I'm giving it away because we are on that mission. We want to help you grow no matter what. All right. So go to roofingsites.com/roofer AI-SEO, SEO, that is. Okay. If you're listening to this in the podcast, that's why I'm spelling this out. Okay. For later, if you actually stayed here for all these freebies. Okay. Next, hey, if you like knowing how all this works, but you'd rather have professionals do it for you, go to roofingsites.com/schedule to schedule a meeting with me. We're going to look at your marketing. We're going to evaluate it. I'm going to have my team look through and give me an assessment of exactly what they think that you need to have done on your website, on social media, all the things that we do. We're going to come back and we're going to build a plan to get you to where you want to go. Okay. If you want to add another $1 million, $5 million, whatever, let's build that plan. Okay. For 2025. Again, that's roofingsites.com/schedule. If you're listening to this on the podcast and you've made it all the way through an hour and 7 minutes, whew, I talked a lot. Questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Ask me any questions that you have. Did you get value from
Chris,
this? Yes.
Do I have to have a company LinkedIn page, or can I use my personal page, my personal LinkedIn page as well?
So I recommend both. Let's go back to what we talked about earlier. Okay. Of having as many poles in the water as we possibly can. Okay. Guess what? Google really likes LinkedIn just as much as they like, X and Instagram. And for the most part, everything that you post on LinkedIn is public. I'm not sure if you know that. Okay. But it's public out there. Whether you post on your personal or your business page, I prefer both. Okay. If you had to choose one versus another, I would say personal, if you're going to post, because that gets more reach inside of LinkedIn itself than business pages do. Unfortunately, they want you to pay, just like all these platforms, they want you to pay in order for your post to actually get seen and viewed and liked and all that kind of stuff. But personal has way more reach. Okay. Appreciate y'all taking the time going through all of this. Please let me know. Reach out to me at chris@roofingsites.com. If you have any questions whatsoever about any of this stuff, or you need help, you have a stuck item in digital marketing, I'm more than happy to help out.